Hi, everybody. Welcome back to CELPIP Live. Here's your trivia question for the day. What is the longest time taken to complete a university degree? Let me say that again. What is the longest time taken to complete a university degree? Let me know the answer in the comments below. And you can also take a picture and then hashtag CELPIP Live, and we may feature it on our Instagram feed. I will reveal the response towards the end of our segment. For now, let's start our show. Here, CELPIP Live is an interactive YouTube series made to help CELPIP test takers like you understand a little bit more about the CELPIP test. So, if you're about to write the test, or you know somebody who's about to write the test, please subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as we go live. So, in today's episode, we're talking to Dorothy, a recent test taker who took the CELPIP test in Toronto this year. We've invited her here so you can hear directly from a CELPIP test taker and get some insight into how the CELPIP test works. So, let's quickly go say hello to her. Hi, Dorothy.
Hey,
How are you doing?
Swati. I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me here.
No, of course. Thank you so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate that you took out the time to talk to us. So, before we get into the questions, if you could just introduce yourself to our audience, um, where you're from, why you needed to take the CELPIP test, that would be great.
Hey everyone. I'm Dorothy, and I'm originally from the Philippines. So I came here to Canada back in April 2022, and the main reason was to really study and work outside of the country. And I had to take the CELPIP test mainly because I was trying to apply for express entry, and it was one of the requirements that's needed for Canadian express entry. So that's how I knew about the CELPIP exam.
And how did you find out that CELPIP test was an option for Canadian Express entry?
So I guess one of the requirements for express entry is to show that one can communicate in English and or in French. And so while just going through, I guess, the requirements and documents to submit, one of the test exams that was available there was CELPIP. So there are a couple of brands where you can also take an English proficiency exam. And CELPIP was one that was branded mainly for North America and for Canadians. And that's when I started researching up on CELPIP and learning more about the exam and kind of the test format and the different experiences that other people had on the exam as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, the topic of today's episode is, as we mentioned, is expectation versus reality. And my our goal for this episode was kind of like just people have a lot of assumptions and expectations before they write the test, but it would be interesting to kind of know, hear from a real test taker about what you expected and whether or not it turned out the same way or there was something different, just so our viewers know kind of like what to prepare for. So I will start, I'll kind of like base your questions that way. So let's
Mhm.
talk about your expectations about the test. So before you took the CELPIP test, what expectations you had in terms of the test itself? For example, the kind of questions. What did you think off the bat your score would be? And then what did you expect your strongest skills to be?
Sure. So I guess taking a step back before kind of choosing CELPIP as the kind of English proficiency exam of choice that I would be taking, to be honest, I was dreading the whole English exam requirement just because I heard a lot of mixed reviews from other immigrants. Some would say, one test is easier than the other, or scoring is kinder on from one brand to the other. So I really wasn't looking forward to it. And a lot of people would say that they took so much time to prepare for the exam only to come up with scores that didn't meet their expectations. But when I started researching more about CELPIP, and it maybe took a week to learn more about the exam in itself, I was very happy because I found resources online that I felt were enough to equip me to be ready for the exam. So specifically for CELPIP, I think there's two available exams that you can actually go through the whole exam yourself, even before studying for the actual content. You can already gauge what your level would be like just coming from the two free exams that's available in the website. And also, CELPIP, I think you also have your own YouTube channel where you would guide test takers through the different processes, how writing or speaking is scored. And so that kind of gave me a sense of peace for going with CELPIP and actually just making sure that there were enough content and resources online that can equipped me to be more confident even before taking the exam. And so that's why I kind of went with CELPIP. And when I was preparing for it, to be honest, I was just really aiming for a 9 across the four portions. I was pretty confident with reading and listening, just because I think all the exams online would score and grade my practice tests. But I was very uneasy with the writing and speaking just because I only had the rubric as a guide, and no one has really ever checked or scored my work. All I knew was like reviews online that I've seen, how to score a 10 or how to score an 11, and kind of based off that. But I was also pretty surprised and happy that when I took the exam, I was able to score 12 across all four parts. And so that was really a good surprise for me. So I hope I kind of answered that question. In terms of types of questions, um, again, once you start researching more about the CELPIP exam, you'll definitely be able to kind of have an overview. And the website tells you already, like, um, for for listening, you'd have these subtasks available. For writing, these are the subtasks. There's two main tasks. Each would have 150 to 200 words. So basically, everything you can practice before the exam itself, just so you go into the exam day pretty confident of what you can expect on the exam and what you would actually write and how you would answer the questions as well.
Okay. No, thank you for that. That was a good answer. I guess like yes. So what Dorothy is referring to in the terms of the two tests are the two free practice tests that you get on our website. So right away, like before you register for the test or before you like kind of in any way commit to the CELPIP test, you can definitely take a free practice test on our website to see if that's your like where your strengths lie, where your weaknesses lie, and even if the CELPIP test is right for you. So that's one test, and then you also get another test once you register and register for a seat. You get another free test. So that's the two tests that Dorothy is talking about. And so we talked a little bit about those tests, but I would like for you to kind of like outline your study and your prep routine once you've gone through the tests, you've understood your strengths and weaknesses. Now, what was your kind of like prep? Like, how did you, for example, how did you allocate your time between the among the topics that you find difficult and topics that you find easy? Did you use other resources? Please talk about that.
Sure. So I guess three main outlines for my study or prep routine. First, I really took time to understand the test format. Second is I looked for best practices online. And then third is practice. And I kept doing it until I was confident with myself. So if I can just expound on each. So on the first point, it's understanding the test format itself. A lot of people just go ahead and take the practice test, and then from there, they just keep repeating the test. But to be honest, once you understand the test, the parts, and what's the requirement for each task, then you'll be able to strategize better on how you can answer and actually give more succinct but also meatier answers on the test day itself. So, badly put, for the writing task, for example, you'd have two subtasks. One is an email, and one is asking for your opinion. So, if you already know that it will always ask for an email and it will always ask for an opinion, then you can come up with templates, I guess, on even on your mind. Just because on the day itself, you only have 15 minutes. So the easiest way is to have kind of a rough template in your brain on how to write and the answers. And then from there, fill up the template according to the prompt that was given to you on the day itself. So having those kinds of strategy beforehand would help you, and understanding, I guess, the test format will help you practice better and also be confident even before going into the exam that you can actually um, have a good answer regardless of the prompt that is given to you. Second is looking for best practices online. So I mentioned, I think this CELPIP channel was very helpful for me as well when I was preparing for the exam. They have a couple of YouTube videos of like, especially for writing and speaking. Just because again, I didn't have anybody scoring my work for the practices, so it was nice to see how they thought and how they were scoring the speaking answers and also the writing answers. Just because again, you can look for patterns and words that they use to help you score a higher point. So that's one online resource that I did. I also went through a couple of YouTube channels, people that have gone through the exam themselves and kind of looked at their tips and tricks as well before I was confident enough to take the exam myself. And last is to keep practicing. So I really, again, the two free exams in the Paragon testing website really helped. But I also was taking other practice tests that's available online, just to help me get into the rhythm of the exam because it's a 3 hour exam. We don't really have 3 hour exams anymore in our daily life. But just making sure that we have the stamina to go through and write through the whole exam. Um, and until such time that you're comfortable with sitting down for 3 hours and kind of moving your brain space from listening to reading to writing and speaking, it really helps before you actually get into the test day itself.
Okay, that's such a good point about brain space because I know that like a lot of the times, if you as a test taker are hung up on like, oh, I find writing a challenge or I find speaking a challenge, you kind of focus more on that, and that's good. Please do, but like you also make sure that you keep time to move through these topics and like you're able to switch from like going through speaking, going through writing, and then doing speaking. So that's a good point.
Mm.
Okay, so you've done your preparation, you've gone through the practice tests, you've researched what best practices are. Now, like let's talk about like if your expectations were accurate during the test. So, like, were there any surprises, especially like, do you have examples?
So I think a couple, but not really about the test in itself. I think the test, again, if you understand the format and how the test is built, you can come in confidently into the test that you can answer it. But one thing that surprised me was during the speaking portion, because obviously all the test takers in the center won't be taking it at the same pace. Some will be faster, some will be slower. But in my case, I guess I was a bit slower. Just on the writing portion, I started hearing people speaking already. And that's one thing that surprised me. I guess it added a bit of pressure for me in the sense that, oh, maybe I was going too slow and other people are, breezing through the exam while here I'm a little bit behind. And second is, it can be distracting to be doing the speaking portion while other people are speaking because obviously you'll have different prompts. You'll hear have um how they actually have their different, I guess, way of tackling the speaking portion as well. So definitely expect that during the test. For the speaking portion in itself, the testing center is pretty packed. It's not tight, but packed because a lot of test takers are taking the exam. So definitely. And when you're practicing at home, it's not like you practice with other people in the room speaking as well. So just be aware of that so that yeah.
That's a good point. We do get a lot of test takers who approach us with that concern, like how do we manage the speaking? And you can, as long as you're able to practice focusing in your like focusing in your, and staying in your zone. It's definitely doable. Dorothy is a great example, of course. Okay, so for the people so we have a couple of people who just joined us. Can you just go through your scores throughout the board?
Yeah, so I got 12 across all four: listening, reading, speaking, and writing.
Congratulations. And did you this is you just like this was your first and only test?
This was my first and only test. I do remember even before arriving Canada, I think back in 2020, I was trying to take the IELTS. I'm not sure if I can share that. But yes, I was trying to study for the IELTS back then. I just felt like the exam was a little bit more rigid. Um, and 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 yeah, you'd have to memorize a lot of things in order to take the IELTS exam. So that's why when I was given the option to choose between IELTS and CELPIP, I went for the CELPIP. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about um, you've gotten your scores and again really good scores, but let's like look back. If you could have if you would have done something differently, not that you have to, but if you did something would have done something differently either during your self-help test or for preparation, like for example, would you have sourced out some other prep, or during the test would you have done something differently? Please share that.
I guess one thing is I would have taken the exam earlier. So I mean, a lot of people, I think, just are like me. We kind of dread the process of having to take the exam because we hear a lot of mixed reviews prior from other immigrants. But had I taken the test earlier, I would have submitted my profile on Express Entry a lot earlier too. And I think with CELPIP, you can be confident because they have the resources available online through their YouTube and also other YouTube channels. So definitely, I think the resources again are enough to equip you. So don't be afraid to take the CELPIP exam earlier. I think that I would have kind of not delayed it further. And I guess the second one is be calm. Again, a lot of people are anxious, and I was anxious. I was worried prior to taking the exam. I was anxious and worried while waiting for my scores. Um, and it affects your day a lot, and I guess that period of prepping for CELPIP. So I guess just being calm. A lot of people are going through the same thing, and trust that I or you are doing your best to study for the exam and also doing your best to kind of have a good score for the exam as well. So those are maybe the two things that I would have tackled differently prior to taking the CELPIP exam.
Thank you. So now for we have a few questions from the comments. I'll start sharing them here. Um,
Mhm.
okay. So the first question is from Srimoy. Hi, is the level of difficulty similar? Is the level of difficulty in the self-free test similar to the actual test, or is it different?
It's very similar, especially for listening and reading, because you get your scores there available for you to see. I would say, though, that some topics, especially on the reading part, suddenly there'll be a science topic. And, if you're not a science person, you get new words. And so definitely, I think strategize for more like how to be better at context clues or understanding different vocabulary and jargons, even if it's not in our usual everyday kind of language, would definitely help you understand the reading material more. So I think, again, to answer the question, it's very similar. It's just the content buckets might change. So you just have to be ready for that.
Sorry, I was muted. So here's another question we have from Delhi. What is your strategy for reading and answer the reading passages within the allocated time? It's a good question.
Hey, Delhi. So for reading, it really was doing a lot of context clues. Number two, also before reading the passage, I would read the questions first. Because once you start reading the questions, you know what to look out for when you're reading the passage. So a lot of people just go ahead and straight into the passage. But I think sometimes you can read the whole thing and at the end of the day, not remember anything. So again, start with one great strategy is to read the questions first, and at least you know what to be on the lookout for.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, Delhi. Let me see if we have any more questions that's relevant to you. No. So, Dorothy, thank you so much for joining us. So, for those of you who are watching, if you have more questions, definitely leave them in the comments below. Dorothy, you have your own channel, is that correct?
Yes, I after taking the CELPIP exam and having such a great score, I guess, I started sharing some tips online. So my YouTube channel is I am dots. Um, that it's pretty straightforward, nothing fancy, but definitely there I was able to share a couple of the templates that I use for speaking and writing, and also some tips for listening and reading as well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us, Dorothy. We really appreciate it. And congratulations on your really good score.
Thank you so much, and happy I was able to share my experience.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
So that was Dorothy. Again, please, I'm seeing more questions. If you have any questions specific for to the subject test that we can answer, please you can continue in the chat or leave it in the comments once the episode is done. Um, I did want to talk about. Okay, so Dorothy was talking about free practice tests, and somebody asked us a question here about where you can find them. So you can find them on our website, so celpip.ca or the Paragon testing website. You can find the free practice tests right off the bat, like without even registering for the test, you'll have a free one, and you can definitely. I'm trying to get above the comment. Okay, you can definitely try to, try your luck there, and then you'll also get one once you register for the test. You get it in once you register for the test, you'll be able to get that from your account that you make with the CELPIP website on the CELPIP website. Okay, Imran, so can we retake any particular module to get eligible bands? No, you have to sit through all the four modules. We do not, at the moment, we're not providing like one module for you to retake one specific module. Okay, so what I also wanted to talk about is practice tests. Since Dorothy mentioned that, like, it helped her to take more and more practice tests. If you're looking to take more practice tests from the CELPIP website you're planning to purchase, we will be having a sale next week. So that's on the 22nd. 22nd is a Wednesday. Yeah. So the 22nd to the 24th, we'll be having a sale, 50% off of all products. So keep that in mind, and definitely like if you have anything you want to purchase, you can purchase it then. It's 50% off. And if you want to subscribe to our mailing list, this mailing list is only for sales. So we're not going to like bother you with other emails. But if you want to subscribe to us and be reminded as soon as the sale starts, you can subscribe. So that link has already been shared in the chat, in the live chat. You can check that out. And then, yeah, I think that's it. So I think that those are all the questions. Um, but yeah, that's the end of our episode today. Thank you all for joining us. And if you would like to come on the show as a self test taker and share your strategies and anything else, your story, please do let us know. You can contact us through Instagram, or there's actually a page on our website for you to join us. We actually do want to hear from you. So that's it. And then please leave suggestions if you'd like to, like if you have an episode that you want us to do, if you're finding it really hard, like if you're finding a specific task hard that we haven't already done on Celpip Live, let us know in the comments, and we'll try to accommodate that. Okay, trivia question time. I haven't forgotten it. What is the longest time taken to complete a university degree? Okay, so the longest time taken to complete a longest time taken to complete a university degree was a person actually in BC. Um, and it's Arthur Ross. He took 54 years to finish his Bachelor of Arts degree at UBC. So this is in Vancouver, Canada. And you're thinking that he took 54 years to prepare? No, he paused and then resumed. So that's how that works. Anyway, oh, I have more questions. When the discount is applied, what will be the cost of the practice test? So you'll have to. If you go to our website, you'll find the page where you can shop and add things to cart. You'll find more details there. So definitely go check that out. But that's it for today. Please follow our Instagram account, CELPIP Test Official, for to like if you have any more questions or just if you want to stay connected and find out when our next episode is coming, please do give us a follow. We try to make sure that we address all your concerns on there as well. So definitely do reach out if you have any specific questions. Another thing I wanted to mention is that we've moved our CELPIP lives to Thursdays. So Thursdays at 9:30 a.m. PT. It used to be Tuesdays, and now they've moved to Thursday. So I'll see you for the next episode, which will be on a Thursday. But until then, stay safe and bye.